G'day fellas. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Japanese. This is the very first Japanese video on the channel. It's also the first Asian civilization that we'll be taking a look at on the channel. We've got plans for China as well as India coming up, so do stay tuned. But for this video, we'll be focusing on the Japan versus British matchup. So the build order that we're going to be doing is a flexible build order that can be applied to almost any single matchup that you'll be playing as the Japanese. This build order is an all-in build, so it's very similar to an Ottoman Janissary rush, except the timing is a little bit later. When I say it's similar to the Ottoman Janissary rush, I mean in the way that it's all in. It's really quite all or nothing. So what we're going to be aiming to do is ship Heavenly Kami in the first age. In the second age, we'll be shipping 600 wood, followed by 5 Ashis, then 5 Ashis again, then Ashigaru Attack, and then the Daimyo. And the idea is that we're going to be doing a timing attack. So the most common strategy that you'll see in 1 versus 1 is the semi-fast fortress, or just the straight fast fortress. So this attack is designed to hit a person just as they're hitting the fortress age, so that they're unable to get their veterancy upgrades, so that they're unable to get their falconet shipment if they've got it, and that's what we're aiming to do. We're aiming to have all of our upgrades and then push in at the same time. So starting off, we're hunting for wood treasures. We've been very fortunate, we've found quite a few wood treasures, and we're shipping Heavenly Kami. What we're doing is, because the crates are always 300 wood with Japanese now, we can always start with a consulate opening. By taking the consulate and allying with the Portuguese, it reduces the cost of our shrines significantly, and it means that we can have a larger boom as a result of spending less wood on our shrines, so we can technically have more shrines in a shorter space of time. So we combine this with the card in the first stage, Heavenly Kami, which is just arriving at the moment, and it reduces the cost of shrines down to 75 wood. This means that you can build a large amount of shrines before eventually switching over to complete focus on military production. If you want to be extra cheeky, you can start by shrining the enemy's hunts first, and then work your way back towards your own hunts. For me, it depends on the matchup that I'm playing against, but ideally, against a British, I'm fearful that they may open with early musketeers and begin to siege my shrines. And I do need my shrines, because I'm going to be doing an all-in strategy that really needs as much economy as possible. So we've aged up with the Toshogu Shrine. This shrine is going to further increase the generation rate of our shrines. It's also going to have a trickle of about 2 villages, or the equivalent of 2 villages, so it's a very strong trickle. So we get our shrine down at 12 villages. Keep in mind that the age-up shrine is 120 food cheaper because we've allied with the Portuguese. Normally this would be 800 food, but we've only got to pay 680. So it's a cheeky little way that you can get up even faster. Once we hit transition, what we're doing is making sure that we're keeping villager production, and then everybody else is going on to wood. So normally what you're looking for is about 6 gathering from berries, and then everybody else is going to wood. The idea is that we're going to build up to 5 shrines, so we'll have 60 population space, and then from there we're going to have our Toshogu Shrine, which is going to give us a further 20 population space, and then we'll begin going very hard and transitioning into military for this all-in attack. Depending on how many wood treasures you get in the early game, also can change the number of shrines that you get. Because I was very fortunate and got a number of different wood treasures, it means that I can afford to go an extra shrine, and that means that I'll be able to produce extra military units as a result. As I'm getting closer to my age up time, I'm not building any more shrines. I'm very, very careful not to build shrines, because I need at least 170 wood to put down my barracks. Keep in mind, with the Portuguese ally, your barracks is also cheaper. Our first shipment is 600 wood. If this were a water map, at this point, I would also be researching the Portuguese fishing boats that are available in the consulate, but because it's a land map, I'm unable to do this. It would give me an extra 3 fishing boats, so you could just see them on the HUD. So now we've completely switched over to food on our shrines, our shrines are generating food, and we've got 4 settlers gathering from coin. And the idea is that we don't want to stop Ashigaru production. We're going to keep Ashigaru production going for the remainder of the game. It's going to be non-stop. Don't be afraid with your shrines. If you are over gathering on one resource, to just switch your shrine over. It's very common. I'll look down there and say, oh, I've got 200 coin. I don't need that much. I'll switch it over to food. And then I can switch it back later. So gathering our 600 wood with just 2 settlers, we don't need any more than that because we're not going to be building our shrines overly fast. I've begun shrining the enemy base, and I've accidentally clicked the 10% on the consulate, so that wasn't an intentional thing. So I've gone and switched that back. So with the 600 wood, we're shrining up. Keep in mind that with our shrines costing 75 wood each, that 600 wood is going to buy us 8 shrines. With our Ashigaru, we're going to begin pressuring the map. We're going to apply pressure. We can see that there's a hunt dead over here and a manor house nearby, so we know that those villages are close. Our 3rd shipment has now arrived. It's 5 Ashigaru. We're going to continue massing Ashigaru, and we're also going to be adding in a 2nd barracks. So there are those villages, those pesky little villages. They've managed to juke us, so we're not going to worry about them. When it comes to manor houses and whether you siege them, it's normally not an appropriate thing to do. However, there are circumstances when you can do it. So if you want to get a shipment a little bit faster, you can siege a manor house or 2. So here we see a trade with the Ashigaru and the muskets. So the muskets are completely outdone by the Ashigaru, but because there were more muskets there, it meant that we couldn't really trade efficiently. So now we're switching over our shrines to wood. What we're going to be doing is aiming to hit that 200 wood mark, and then we'll be switching them back. With that 200 wood, we're going to be dropping down our 2nd barracks. We're also going to be picking up Japanese isolation from the consulate. This is going to be increasing the stats of our land army. So what we're doing with our Ashigaru is we're patrolling around the base. We're making sure that there's no settlers on the extremities. We're making sure that any of the hunts that are out here are not being gathered from, because we've got the superior military. We've already shipped 5 Ashigaru. We're shipping 5 more Ashigaru right now. We are all in on this strategy. But keep in mind, we've got a huge economy behind this. Each one of our shrines represents the equivalent of a single villager. We have a population space of 170. Minus the TC, that's 160. So that means that we've got 16 villager equivalent right now gathering resources for us. So now that we've dropped down our 2nd barracks, it means that we can begin producing our military units in overdrive. It's important that we continue rallying units to the enemy base. I like to keep my units in 2 separate groups, one for the left side of the base, one for the right side. Or if we're playing around the other way, it'd be one for the north group and one for the south group. This way I can make sure that my opponent's constantly on his toes, and I'm able to check both sides for villages, and the enemy is going to have to divide up his military if he wants to be able to repel my attacks. Our 4th shipment was 5 Ashigaru. Now our 5th shipment is coming in. It's Ashigaru Attack. With this, it's going to enable our Ashigaru to trade more effectively and to be just putting out a significantly more damage. We're going to be combining this with the daimyo, so that our musketeers are going to have significantly higher attack than the enemy musketeers. Here, we managed to find some villages out on the extremities. Keep in mind that the enemy was busy with our first group of musketeers, or Ashigaru rather, and it means that he's distracted, and that enables us to pick off at least 3 villages. We're making sure to macro very, very precisely, switching between food and coin. So we've switched over to coin again. We switch as we need it. Sometimes you'll see that your food will be excessive, so you can switch it over to coin, and vice versa. So we're just continuing to rally 2 barracks musket towards the enemy base, keeping them off hunt. We're just really trying to strangle them at this point. He pushes out with his musket because he needs this hunt. He's got no other food in that base. Unfortunately, in the definitive edition, hunts are relentless in trying to return to their starting position. And it means that this hunt, even though it was comfortably underneath the enemy's town center, is now outside on the ground because it's continues trying to return back to its initial starting point. So that's good news for us. It means that we can begin harassing the enemy. We can start sieging down the tower. When we see the muskets approach, we can. There's two options. The first one is that we continue sieging. The second one is that we back off. Our economy is now at the point where we're able to maintain complete production out of these two barracks, producing 10 Ashigaru at a time. The sixth card that we're shipping is the daimyo. So depending on how late the opponent ages up will depend on whether we need that daimyo or not. But there's a good chance that if the opponent ages up within the next 30 seconds to 40 seconds, we're not going to be fighting with the daimyo. Because we need to be attacking the enemy, and there he is. The enemy's hit Fortress Age. So straight away, we're just in. We want to fight immediately. This is a British player. He's going to be calling 2 Falconets immediately. He's going to be researching his veteran upgrades, and he wants to take the fight. He calls Minutemen. He puts his villagers in the town center, and our daimyo is on the way, but it's too late for our daimyo. So we significantly outmatch the enemy musketeers and longbows just because we've shipped that upgrade, as well as our Ashigaru just being much better units than the musketeers. In this position, it would have been wise for the enemy to avoid fighting me until he had had his 2 Falconet shipment arrive and been able to research the veterancy upgrade. But because of the speed of the Ashigaru, we were able to cut off the enemy and force him to fight. He realized that we were going to be able to catch him and that he wasn't going to be able to kite us, so he simply turned around and fought us. As a result, it meant that he fought an unfair fight and we were able to secure victory. This opening is a very versatile opening. We don't need to be shipping 600 wood, then 5 ashi and 5 ashi again. We can ship 600 wood and 4 vils and 4 vils and go a much greedier version. Hopefully you've been able to take something away from this video. If you've enjoyed the video, I encourage you to leave a like. If you haven't already joined the Discord, I encourage you to do so. This weekend we'll be having a barbecue where we'll be playing a number of different game modes, including FFA, team games, competitive, and casual games. So if that sounds like something you might be interested, I encourage you to jump on the Discord and join us at 2 PM CST to 10 PM CST on Saturday. Other than that, I hope that you've enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching.